Syria has been welcomed back into the Arab League after more than a decade of diplomatic isolation. Arab League foreign ministers voted to reinstate the government of Bashar al-Assad at a meeting in Cairo on Sunday. Damascus was suspended in 2011 after its brutal crackdown on pro-democracy protests in Syria, the start of the ongoing civil war. Will that move further evidence of a thaw in relations between Damascus and other Arab governments? And for more on this, I'm joined by our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, first of all, why is all of this happening now?
Well, if you look at a map of Syria, you can see that it's positioned in an area where there are three main problems that need to be overcome. And the first one is to try to find a solution to the civil war. This has been raging on since 2011 in Syria. And I think many countries are feeling that there is no diplomatic solution, no political solution in the pipeline at the moment, and it really is time to try to work out some kind of future, not only for the Syrian people, but also for the region, to try to stabilize the situation in Syria. 300,000 civilians killed since 2011, 200,000 fighters reportedly dead. That's 500,000 people so far. 100,000 people detained or disappeared. 11 million people, that's half the population of Syria, who are displaced. So there are two other big reasons as well. One of them is the refugee problem, which has been caused by the fallout from the Syrian civil war, and many people saying that while the conditions in the country are not suitable for them to return, this situation concerning refugees is going to continue. And so the Arab League has moved in to try to find some kind of way out of the problem. Now, the Arab League is an organisation that brings together 22 members. It was formed back in 1945. It's headed by Ahmed Abu Ghait, who was a former foreign minister of Egypt. Syria has been suspended from the Arab League since 2011, but since yesterday, it's now been reintegrated back into that organisation. And one of the main reasons for that, above the two others I just mentioned, is because there is growing worry in the region about the drug trade coming out of Syria and the Syrian production of a drug called Captagon, which is called the poor man's cocaine, which is having widespread fallout in the region and causing more and more drug addicts. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, about $3.8 billion annually. That's more than any legal form of export from Syria, and that is something else that the Arab League thinks that needs to be dealt with pretty quickly so it doesn't have a domino effect in other countries around the region.
So, Philip, where does this leave the Syrian leader, Bashar al-Assad? Is he no longer considered a pariah?
Well, if you look back to 2011, most people wouldn't have put any money on him surviving after the Arab Spring uprising started in Syria. It's been an amazing comeback for him. And these are a few facts about him. He became president of Syria back in 2000 after working as an eye doctor before that. The Arab Spring started in 2011, but he's already got another victory under his belt in 2021 with 95.2% of votes in his favour, which has to be looked at with a pinch of salt, I think. But it's pretty clear that he is backed by Russia, backed by Iran. Pretty difficult to get rid of him. It's been more or less deserted Syria by the West. So that's why the Arab League thinks that the time has come now to maybe bring back Syria into the club and to try to make amends. The big question here is, what will Syria do? Will they make amends? Will they come up with guarantees for this reintroduction into the Arab League? We don't know about that. What efforts will Bashar al-Assad himself make? We don't know either. How will sanctions that are still imposed by the West on Syria, how will that affect future investment in the country, which is what the Syrians really badly want? And I think what the Arab League wants to try to put Syria back on its feet once again. And where does this leave all the thousands of fighters in Syria who've been against Bashar al-Assad for the last 12 years? They're very, very angry about this decision for Syria to go back into the Arab League, saying all of their efforts have been for nothing and he's still in power all these years later.
All right, Philip, thanks for that. France 24's Philip Turle.